Limbus Company has just received its 8th Walpurgis-Night event, complete with 2 new stages, a set of achievements, and a brand new banner featuring 2 identities from Lobotomy Corporation and 1 E.G.O. The identities and E.G.O. this time around are very cool and unique, or at least some of them are. So I will not be covering the entire banner in one video. And instead, today's upload will go over Lobotomy E.G.O. Faint Aroma and Solitude Ryōshū, who I consider to be the highlight of the banner. Ryoshu is a sinking Tremor identity much like a couple other recent units, and her dual wielding capabilities allow her to hit a lot of skills in one turn. She's a multifaceted identity, with a ton of effects and mechanics playing off of different things happening within her team. And while she is, undoubtedly, unique and interesting, a question remains: is she good? In today's video I aim to answer that question by going over Ryoshu's kit and then looking at her performance in all 3 versions of the sinking team, as well as the Tremor team, explaining her strengths and weaknesses along the way. But before we start, allow me to remind you that most of my viewers are not subscribed. So if you find yourself coming back to my videos or end up enjoying this one, consider subscribing. It takes just 1 second and helps me out a lot. Now let's get to Ryoshu. We'll start with her kit. Aroma Ryōshū has low health, average speed and an unmodified defense level. Her sin affinity spread consists of Sloth, Envy and Gloom, with a Gloom defense. All of Ryoshu's skills gain power from sinking and tremor on the enemy. Her skill 1 is Bang Bang. It rolls up to 16 and its coins consume 1 bullet solitude each, and inflict 2 sinking count as well as 3 tremor. Ryoshu also has a skill 1-2, Stories That Never Cease. It's unclashable, rolls up to 12, and has 3 attack weight with unfocused volley. Its coins inflict 1 sinking count and 4 tremor, and each one also inflicts 2 solitude next turn. If an enemy already has solitude, or is set to get it next turn, the solitude inflictions against that enemy turn into tremor bursts instead. Ryoshu's skill 2 is Blossoming Fragrance in the Void. It rolls up to 22 and deals extra damage based on faint aroma on the target. The first coin of the skill spends 1 bullet solitude and inflicts 3 sinking count, while the second and third inflict 3 faint aroma and 2 tremor count each. Ryoshu's third skill is Full Bloom. It rolls up to 23 and deals extra damage based on faint aroma on the target. The coins of the skill inflict a total of 4 faint aroma, 3 sinking count, 4 sinking and 2 tremor. The last coin triggers Tremor Burst once, and deals gloom damage equal to sinking potency on the enemy. Additionally, Ryoshu has a skill 3-2 in Magnificent End. This skill rolls up to 25, is unclashable, has 3 attack weight, cannot be reused, and deals bonus damage based on unused attack weight. The skill gains final power based on faint aroma on all targets, and at attack end, Ryoshu loses all petals. The coins of the skill inflict 5 faint aroma, 3 sinking and tremor, triggers Tremor Burst once, and deals gloom damage equal to sinking on the target. As for Ryoshu's defensive skill, she gets an evade. AAT is a simple 14 rolling evade that gives Ryoshu 10 petals, as well as 2 fragile and 2 attack power up next turn at turn end. As for her passives, Ryoshu gets 2. The first one, a void that cannot be filled, gives Ryoshu 6 bullets solitude at the beginning of a fight. While Ryoshu has bullets, whenever an enemy is at -40 SP or is staggered at the attack end of any ally, Ryoshu follows up that attack with her skill 1, used as an unopposed attack, once per turn. And at attack end, if Ryoshu is out of ammo, she uses her skill 1-2 unopposed against the target before spending 10 SP to reload. Her second passive requires 2 Gloom and 1 Sloth owned to activate, and it allows Ryoshu to gain petals when an enemy takes sinking damage, when faint aroma is inflicted on an enemy, and when a tremor burst is triggered. At attack skill end, if Ryoshu is at 30 petals or more, she uses Magnificent End against the target with the most faint aroma. Also, Ryoshu deals extra damage to staggered targets based on their faint aroma, and when she loses 10% of her HP or more in one turn, she heals 3% of her HP as well as 10 SP. As for her support passive, Ryoshu gets Spring's Genesis. It requires 3 sloth resonance, and it allows the fastest ally to inflict 2 tremor and trigger tremor burst when hitting an enemy with a skill that inflicts sinking. Before we can move on to Ryoshu in combat, we have to also look at her unique effects. Bullet Solitude is an ammo type that stacks up to 6 and cannot be modified by external effects. Faint Aroma stacks to 30, and the stack is increased by 1 whenever the afflicted enemy takes sinking damage. Upon Tremor Burst on the afflicted enemy, 1 to 2 Faint Aroma is applied on up to 3 other enemies. At max stack, the effect inflicts 2 Tremor and triggers Tremor Burst before making the enemy also take Gloom damage equal to their sinking stack, before losing all Faint Aroma. After that happens, the effect cannot be gained again for the rest of the turn. If an enemy with Faint Aroma dies, half the stack of the effect gets spread out between remaining enemies. Petals stack up to 30 and give 1 offense level for every 10 stacks, and Ryoshu can gain a maximum of 15 in one turn. Solitude is a new panic type changing effect that makes the enemy take 10% more damage from Gloom skills. Units with SP have their panic type changed to Solitude, which inflicts them with sinking count at turn end when they are in low morale or panic. Units without SP get inflicted with 2 sinking count at turn end directly instead. With this, we're done with Ryoshu's kit completely, and we can move on to her combat evaluation. We'll begin by looking at her overarching goals and abilities before we move on to her performance in her signature teams. Ryoshu has 2 weapons, the Solitude Revolver and the Faint Aroma Crossbow, and her kit plays around that, separating Ryoshu's skills into the Ammo gimmick and the Faint Aroma/Petal gimmick, with the skill 2 being a midpoint that helps both. On the gun side of things, Ryoshu is rewarded greatly for using up 6 bullets, which gives her access to her unique panic type effect as well as 2 bursts for Tremor in Stories That Never Cease. To use up all these bullets, you want to play her in a dedicated sinking team against human bosses, in a Tremor team, or against groups, as those are the best ways to fulfill either the -40 SP conditional or the stagger conditional. Doing so gives you an extra bang bang pretty much every turn, adding to Ryoshu's damage, coin count, effect infliction and sin generation. On the crossbow side, you've got Faint Aroma and Petals working together. Faint Aroma needs to be inflicted once directly with a skill, and after that it can stack on its own if you have a sinking team. Once it reaches max stack, you get to cash in on Sinking and Tremor, and after that you are forced to inflict it again. And, of course, while continuing to inflict Faint Aroma isn't necessary to reach the burst, it does help you get there faster. Right beside that effect, you have Petals, which also get stacked when an enemy takes sinking damage, but Ryoshu also gets them off of Faint Aroma infliction as well as bursts. This effect works as a resource that is used for Magnificent End. With this, you can see that Ryoshu needs to take care of both her bullets and petals, and when you succeed in using both resources correctly, you are rewarded with a lot of extra skills, resulting in Ryoshu being able to use up to 4 skills in a single turn, with her initial chosen skill, Magnificent End, Bang Bang, and Stories That Never Cease. This is kind of all I can say in this section, as everything else is directly connected to Ryoshu's performance in status teams, which is why it's time to look at her performance in Sinking. The Sinking team has 3 main variations, corresponding with the 3 Yi-Sang identities that are used as win conditions. I am here to tell you that against all odds, Ryoshu can work in all three. We'll begin with Deluge. This team is centered around the creation of the largest sinking stack possible in a couple turns, before bursting it for a huge amount of damage. This team greatly benefits from identities that are count positive and can add good potency. Ryoshu is not a count positive ID on her own, but she is almost completely count neutral, and with echoes of the manners up, she can become positive. Ryoshu gets a chance to cash in on 2 to 3 echoes procs every turn against human bosses due to her extra skills. The potency she adds on top of that is also quite decent, with 4 on skill 3 and 3 on skill 3 too. Within the Deluge version of Sinking, the identity that Aroma Ryōshū contests is Arcorp Honglu, the team's 7th slot. Honglu is a heavily skill order dependent identity that wants to use skill 3 into skill 2 into another skill 2 to maximize sinking infliction, while also making use of the echoes of the manner effect with its second skill repeatedly. Ryoshu does also want to set up her faint aroma effect early, so she wants her skill 2 or 3 on turn 1, but she is a lot less picky than Honglu. Ryoshu is not prone to low rolling, as even if she gets below average luck with manners, she will still never be negative, which is not something that can be said about Honglu. One requirement this ID has, though, is the activation of her passive. With Unwithering Flower up, Ryoshu gets to stack petals, and eventually use Magnificent End, which is a skill that deals damage equal to the target's sinking, cashing in on the high potency you will end up stacking up, and influencing the stack positively by taking away 1 count and adding 3 potency. The Faint Aroma effect also cashes in on the sinking, effectively adding 1 count into the stack, just separate from the actual Deluge nuke. One thing you might expect to be big for this team is Solitude, but I don't believe that it is. The skill that inflicts it, Stories That Never Cease, influences the sinking stack on the enemy negatively, and the effect of Solitude only comes online at the next turn end. This means that if you rush to get skill 1-2 on turn 2, Solitude will only make a mark of +1 count in total on turn 4. And if you spend your turn 1 setting up Faint Aroma, you can also delay the reload even further if you fail to get the enemy to -40 SP on turn 1. I'm not saying that Solitude is terrible for Deluge, but it does need some time to get meaningful value, so it's not the biggest selling point for Ryoshu. Circling back to the Arcorp Honglu comparison, Aroma Ryōshū is very competitive as a replacement for that identity in the Deluge team, dealing more damage and providing more consistency as opposed to Honglu's very strict skill order requirements that need to be met for him to be put above Ryōshū. Overall, Aroma Ryōshū is definitely usable alongside Spicebush, and she's got certain things over her direct competition in the team, despite what the high coin count would lead you to initially believe. Moving on to Solemn Lament, this team has the easiest evaluation for Ryōshū. Yeah, she's goated. Insanely so, even. While Solemn Lament Yi-Sang is not exactly the infallible win condition that people pretend he is, he's definitely the Yi-Sang identity that lets Ryōshū herself shine the most. The Butterfly team is built around sustaining a sinking stack while proccing it as much as possible in order to activate the damage from the Butterfly effect. And, well, Ryōshū tends to use upwards of 4 coins consistently on every turn beyond the first, with her 4 skill combo going as far as to match Ren Yi-Sang's max coin count of 9. On top of that, Ryōshū is very count neutral, so her addition will actually bring a lot of extra stability to the team alongside all those coins. Speaking of stability, due to Solemn Lament's slower overall clear speed on bosses compared to Spicebush, Solitude gets more time to shine, and it kicks in right around the point where Echoes of the Manor expire, allowing you to more easily sustain your sinking stack long term. There really are no meaningful weaknesses in Ryoshu's kit when used alongside Solemn Lament, and her competition is not all that compared to her either. If on Deluge Ryoshu can grapple with Arcorp Honglu for the 7th slot, on Butterfly she is a high priority pick, similar to Hanafuda Ishmael. Moving on to Rien Sinking, Ryoshu can uniquely benefit this team as well. The points about her neutrality, the effects of Solitude and Ryoshu's damage all apply here as well, but a certain part of her kit shines through more than you might expect: her Tremor. See, Hanafuda Ishmael is also used here, and her skill 3 converts Tremor on the enemy into Tremor Decay, a Tremor type that passively decreases the enemy's defense level without you needing to burst it. Obviously, this effect is quite strong when put into a team filled with physical heavy hitters like Index Yisang and Dawn, but its efficiency scales with Tremor potency, which Hanafuda just can't provide in a large amount. Udjet Otis is also a Tremor Sinking identity that you can use to help here, but her Tremor is honestly a bit laughable. Ryoshu's though, that shit's serious. Blossoming Fragrance in the Void provides a big safety net of 4 count for free, and Bang Bang, the skill that Ryoshu will be spamming on top of whatever she actually chooses, provides 3 Tremor potency. The stacking Ryoshu is capable of is by no means LCCB Ishmael levels of Tremor or anything, but for keeping up a Tremor stack on the side, she does a really good job. Additionally, Rien Yisang's really high coin count helps out Ryoshu's faint aroma and petals gain, which makes her a bit better at getting extra damage in for free. As you can see, Ryoshu's multifaceted kit is on full display when you look into her strengths on each of Sinking's variations. She contributes to every version in a unique way, while retaining her strong baseline, but she doesn't become overbearing. This is some incredible design, if you ask me. You'd expect a Sinking identity that cool to flop on Tremor, as we've seen with Udjet Otis, but actually, Ryoshu is usable here as well. Tremor mainly exists within the realm of low turn boss clears, and Ryoshu can contribute to a turn 4 nuke quite efficiently. To begin the fight, she wants to use her defensive skill. AAT gives Ryoshu 10 petals instantly, and it's also your only way of obtaining 2 gloom on turn 1 to give Ryoshu her passive, as the only other source of gloom on standard Tremor is LCCB Ishmael's skill 2. Afterwards, Ryoshu depletes some of her ammo using 2 Bang Bangs, and once the nuke turn comes, she equips full bloom. During the nuke turn, the enemy gets staggered by the insane wave of Tremor bursts, which triggers Ryoshu's 3rd Bang Bang, which then chains into Stories That Never Cease for 2 bursts. All these bursts also stack up Ryoshu's petals, which you should have at least 15 of going into this turn, meaning that Ryoshu can hit 30, allowing her to use both Full Bloom and Magnificent End for 2 more bursts, ending the nuke turn with 4 bursts total, which is 1 more than standard. Although, do note that the Magnificent End use requires Ryoshu's passive to stay up on turn 4, meaning that without extra resource generation due to some boss gimmick, you will likely not get to utilize the quadruple burst, due to Everlasting eating up the few points of gloom you have saved up, settling for just the standard number of 3 bursts instead. Just like this, Ryoshu can find a place for herself on turn 4 nuke Tremor in addition to all the Sinking variations. She's not a priority pick or anything, but she's a decent side grade to the team's 7th slot, which would already go to an identity that bursts Rise. Also, Ryoshu's consistent bursting using bonus skills and faint aroma can allow her to supply her team with effect damage for long encounters, carving out another niche. Overall, Faint Aroma and Solitude Ryōshū is an incredibly versatile identity, and she has potential use cases for all of her teams. Unlike certain other versatile units though, she doesn't force herself into the team with insanely high numbers, and instead she opts to utilize the entirety of her kit to the fullest in different ways for every team, which is just a joy to see. Honestly, this unit is the most fun I've had in a while with an identity, as theory crafting her use cases and testing her has been an absolute blast. While I do think that Ryoshu is far from the strongest identity in the game, or even on her own teams, the value she can provide is pretty good, and the overall flexibility she has is quite commendable. Should you get her? Yeah, you should. Out of the 8th Walpurgis-Night banner, this ID seems to be the best drop, so if you had to go to pity and you want the strongest option, pick Ryoshu. With this, my review of Faint Aroma and Solitude Ryōshū comes to an end. The identity is immensely fun to use, and she's quite powerful on top of that, so she's among my favorite units already. If you disagree or have something to add, feel free to leave a comment below, and I might read it and respond. If you enjoyed the video at any point, leave a like to let me know, and if you want to see more like this, consider subscribing. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. Goodbye!